Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever your planet has. Welcome to the Rockhound Podcast again. Tonight we have a very special intergalactic guest returning, but first, we'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what you're up to, so definitely leave that for us in the comments. And now, go ahead and introduce yourself. Caitlin?
Hi, everybody. Hi. Transmission is low, apparently. I've just returned from all over the solar system, so happy to be back. I'm so excited. And apparently we have plans to bring me back more as well. So feel free to ask questions in the comments as well. And hopefully I'll get to your questions in the future too. So excited to be back though. I was very happy to receive an email going, yo, let's chat some space questions. There's a lot to chat about. I was also just back from Utah as well. So beautiful rocks there and some fun space travels in Utah as well. So woohoo. So happy to tell all sorts of fun stories tonight.
Welcome back. We missed you.
We did.
We're so happy to have you back. Can't wait to get to it. And who else do we have here in the room?
I'm Mortimer, spaceman from space. I forget my fake names sometimes. I type it in as we're getting ready, and then I'm like, oh, crap, who am I this week?
My spaceman from space name.
Yeah, spaceman from space.
Well, thank you for landing here, Spaceman Mortimer.
Yes.
And
you can just call me Morty. It's fine.
Morty. And I'm Karen from Ozone Fine Art Ventures out here in the soggy Oregon coast. And let's see, last week, if you tuned in, you knew that we were doing the sacred, sentimental, precious-y rocks. So thanks to those for showing up for our podcast, of course. And we had a brief memorial for a dear friend who recently passed from the community, as you guys know. Many of you shared your reactions and condolences in the chat and comments, and we thank you for that. Rock Hounding with Jasper Blue found the tribute lovely and touching, and the quote, "There goes a treasure trove of knowledge and experience we may never see the likes of again," definitely suits it. Super well put. Thank you. Jesper and Lisa Largent and Sierra Hounder enjoyed Sweet Jim, and Sierra was expressing that they could listen to those stories for hours. And that is so true. We wish we had more of those coming. Sweet Jim's appearances on the podcast were among Scott Lambright's favorites of these podcasts. Rookie Rock Hounding. Hey, Jesse.
Rookie.
Woo. Thanks for dropping by. Was brokenhearted and sends prayers and love to his family. He also expressed his sadness with the passing of Jared Cliff Walker, Rock Hounding as well. We sure have suffered some losses of late, and you know, some folks are just hearing about it or just coming back from trips and stuff. So yeah, we're all giving each other a great big group hug on that. Same with Julie McKenna, stating that we were all blessed to be able to meet Sweet Jim. Bethsaida Garcia and Claude from Kalgoorlie will miss him, and Claude mentioned missing Kyle and his dad jokes as well. So perhaps the man behind the curtain needs to have.
I was going to say, he's here. He's just
podcast, right?
A bit more ethereal at the moment.
There he is.
I'm trying to make myself seen. Hang on one second. Hi. I'm still here. It's just I'm in the background behind the curtain.
And he will slip the joke in, right?
If I can, I will. Don't worry.
You're just at the ready. In the wings,
Fingers
waiting for those dad jokes.
Yeah. I'm waiting.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. And thank you, Claude.
You're welcome.
Jody Brown was reflecting sadness for the loss of Jim, but also Jody had shared that her own husband had a massive stroke 8 days ago and is lucky to be alive, but is a fighter, and when he's well enough, he'll want to go rock hounding. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jody, and we wish your husband the quickest of healing sessions so that he can rock on. And we really appreciate you guys sharing all of your feelings and everything. Kyle Abaglan had a lovely note, as usual, a little something for everybody. So go read that, and was grateful that we could keep the levity going through the heavy news. And I think we can't help it. Like,
Yeah, me and Karen have had this conversation.
yeah.
I don't deal with sad very well, so it's like, all right, I gotta make a joke.
Yeah, I got a
It's
big
getting
spoonful of
too
sugar
real.
to take with that.
Pretty much.
CCV Gems Mary Beth was shocked over the news, but was also enjoying the precious rocks and enjoying hearing the stories about them. And so you guys, I know you guys have the precious rocks too. Share them with us on the email so that we can get that next viewer show and tell up. We are super close, and so just send your preciouses with the stories. And if you have ugly rocks, you can send the ugly rocks instead, whichever you prefer, to the email in the description. Ivan Lopez, Mr. Duffy 81, and all of you in the chat, we thank you for watching and hanging out. We love you, and we miss those of you who can't be with us. And them's the shouts. So let's go on to Caitlin. And how has your time since we've seen you been going, and what kind of projects are you working on?
Oh, goodness. Well, been keeping busy because a lot of stuff has been all sorts of craziness in the solar system so far.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what all I talked about last time. This is gonna be very embarrassing here. But,
oh, no worries. Just
no.
we'll keep it on the like what's going on right now side, and then our viewers can ask the questions, because we'll have Mortimer tell us about his week as well. So just give us like a feeling for what you're slip sliding around on right now.
Well, slip sliding around mostly with the moon. So the moon is going to get very busy, ladies and gentlemen, at least in the next entire decade. There's going to be dozens, and I mean dozens, of lunar missions. So something that, we have a lot coming up. So from just a little mission here, a little mission there, and all of a sudden it's like boom. We have at least 5 that are going to launch within the next 2 years already.
Wow.
And then some of them haven't been scheduled to launch yet, whether there's always delays, there's always instrument delays, or just planning and building, or something falls off. So
that's ill-advised.
Yeah. I mean, this is why we test everything to death before we put it on the launch pad. But we do, you know what? Those testing rooms are actually really quite entertaining to be in. They're humongous. I mean, they're massive rooms. And what they do is that they latch whatever rocket, instrument, probe, whatever you're trying to launch into space. They pretty much have it harnessed 20 ways from Sunday, and then shake it. and they shake it at different angles. They turn it upside down and they shake it. I mean, it's truly like a 3-year-old on Christmas. I mean, it's
Wow.
truly just shake the poor thing. But you figure, though, that makes sense. Once it's on the rocket, you can't go back. And once it goes up, again, it's not like, well, hey, no, come back.
Right.
So if it falls off in space, we tried. But you better destroy it now on Earth than before it gets destroyed up in space. Makes sense.
That's got to be a nail biter for the engineers and the builders. They're like, oh, please don't break.
Oh yes, very much so. And I've been in that position before, not as an engineer, but as a scientist, where many years ago I helped build a payload for a high altitude rocket. Fun fact about me, I actually did take a rocket science class for a year and a half. And we built this thing. We had to do all the shake tests for it and everything. everything. We had to test it and test it and test it. And it flew fine, and it landed fine, and everything was fine. So, but it was just that nail biting moment of once the scientists hand it off to the engineers, they're just kind of like, okay, I know you're meant to break it, but also please don't. But it worked out fine. And so, just that kind of learning experience. But you might be wondering, like, why so many missions all of a sudden to the moon? Well, the moon is not only our closest planetary body in our solar system, is right just next door, but there's still a lot to learn about the moon too. And so all of these different missions are going to help us learn about all sorts of different aspects on the moon. So like moonquakes, that's exciting. How are those even figured? So learning about moonquakes, learning about the interior of the moon. We have a pretty good idea as to how the moon would have formed, but in a sense, we still have many questions about that. In its formation. We're all geologists here. How has a giant rock this big formed? And then on top of that, what kind of minerals are we looking at on the moon? There's different kinds of weathering on the moon. It doesn't have an atmosphere, but it has weathering though from the sun, which is very fascinating. So how does our sun play a role in weathering the rocks on the moon? If it's weathering the rocks, could there be buried reservoirs on the moon as well, which is exciting. There's what I specifically do on the moon is that there's ice on the moon, so which is really, really interesting. It's really cool. I'm pulling out the jokes now, guys. Get ready. What's fascinating is that there's places on the moon that can get just as cold as Pluto. So we're talking negative 400 some degrees Fahrenheit here. Wow. Very, very cold.
That's cool.
Dang.
That is cool.
Literally.
Thank you, guys.
Got my joke in.
Yes.
Kyle, all right, there's my joke. Bye.
So then that's the main point of a lot of these upcoming missions is what kind of ice are we dealing with? Why are certain spots so cold? Some of these spots take the literal phrase where the sun don't shine to a literal point.
Right.
I mean, it really doesn't see the light of day at all.
You can put that probe where the sun don't shine.
Yeah. There we go. That needs to be on a shirt.
Yeah, right.
I want that on a mug. Please.
I totally need that mug. Yeah.
I need that mug. I will happily bring that mug into work.
I think Mary Beth is who we need to talk to about that.
Yep,
all right.
I think
you
so.
heard that,
Happily.
girlfriend. All right.
Please, yes. So in that case, that's mainly why we want to send astronauts back to the moon, is to then study some of that ice on the moon, see if they can kind of poke it a little bit, maybe drill into it a little bit. We want to just see what is this ice. We know most of it is water ice, but it being that kind of cold of temperatures and many different kinds of cool chemistry on the moon, it's more than just water ice, which is very fascinating. But we don't really know. So why not send astronauts to the moon and just kind of see what happens?
It's
Heck yeah.
How fun. Right on. Okay, well, that's jam-packed already. Should we
Right?
should we get Mortimer to tell us about his week, and then we'll circle on back to you, Caitlin? All right, super. All right, Morty, let's have it.
My week was literal chaos because
No way.
I know.
Surprises.
I know, actually more so than normal, because I think I mentioned it last week. For the second channel, I was working on a video that ended up being way more time intensive than I was planned for or prepared for. So I needed to get it done in time for Halloween because it was slightly Halloween themed. And my gosh, I was working late like every single day. The final video was like 270 video clips and 40, I think it was 43 gigs of raw footage that I had to sift through and edit out that video. But
that
actually,
is like editing purgatory, dude.
Oh gosh. I'm gonna stop my video for 5 seconds just so I can pull this up. I figured I could show a little. I have a picture on my computer here somewhere. I don't want to show my mess of a desktop though. There's so many files because I've got like 9 videos in edit at any given time. So there's just, yeah.
Me too. I know.
Okay.
Jams the whole system.
Share screen. I'm learning how to technology.
We're so proud of you.
There we go. This one right here.
So good. That is so good. I love
goodness.
Scrappy.
Yes.
Yes, Scrappy. I did Scrappy the way that I envisioned Scrappy. Whenever I think of Scrappy, this is what I picture. So yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, that is so good.
I also came to the realization that I'm way better at making grotesque monsters than cute cartoon characters. So we're gonna go back to making monsters, I think. But it was a fun project regardless. But yeah. Other than that,
you like your monsters.
Yes. The monsters are fun. I think it's just more freeing, honestly, because if you do like Scooby-Doo, for example, you gotta make Scooby-Doo, and it has to be recognizably Scooby-Doo. If I make I'm gonna just pull a random example out of the thin air, but if I make Charizard, the Pokemon, realistic Charizard, I have free reign to do whatever I want. If I make a realistic Charizard, I can do whatever I want. So it's a lot more fun, honestly, because you just wing it, and whatever you wind up with, It's really stressful.
The monster might just get scarier.
Yeah, exactly. Which is perfect. But
Right.
yeah, when you're trying to like make a faithful creation, like it's so much harder and more stressful, and I'm not a fan. So I learned one thing, and that's
You're like, I did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I made the realization that I've got like 5 videos on my second channel now, and all of them except for one have been like monsters in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Like we've got Gengar, which is like a demon ghost. Then we've got the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. Then I carved the Balrog. Yeah, I love that one so much.
So good.
I carved the Balrog from Lord of the Rings onto a pumpkin, and then in the middle of there we've got like
Caitlin.
It's fun. It's like a perfect outlet for my nerdiness. But yeah, and then I'm taking a look at all of my videos, and I'm like, man, there was never a plan to go in this direction with horrible monsters, but we should probably do something like light and happy, just to remind everyone that I promise this won't happen every single time. And again, the best part of that whole project was the monster hellhound Scrappy-Doo. So
yeah, why fight it?
Yeah, exactly. Let's just roll with it. It's more monsters to come in the near future.
We applaud you.
Yeah.
Looking forward for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A fun challenge then here. What monster would live in the ice on the moon?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my gosh.
I'll let you think on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna
challenge time.
The Wampa.
A really furry tardigrade.
Yeah.
Oh, like a monster tardigrade.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So
that's
cool.
Actually a fantastic idea. Okay. These are all
Could you
good
do
ideas.
a stop motion with that?
Oh, I'd love to. I love stop motion. I
know you love it. I figured that if I tantalized you with the option, that
yes,
take the bait.
I love doing stop motion. I haven't done it in a while. I think we're overdue for some stop motion.
Yeah. So. Well, wasn't it the Devil's Toenails, or was there one after that?
Yeah, it was the Devil's Toenails.
That. You have to. Everybody needs to go see the Devil's Toenails. You should probably put a short out. Just so that we can have instant grat and watch it over and over again. Because I would
play it on repeat.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating because it's like a 15-16 second clip, and it took hours to do because it's like you get 4 pictures. I think it's the best ideal frame rate is like 4 frames per second with stop motion. So and that's 60. Yeah. Oh gosh, it takes so long, but it's so much fun. I love it. So. Yeah. Well, I might have to dip our toes into claymation because I'm getting better with polymer clay. So. That would be
Oh.
fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no easy bake, no bake needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just don't bake it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
actually-
gosh. I'm so
Okay.
excited.
So tangents already underway.
Oh.
Perfect. All right. So I think, you can't expect any less from us. We learned last time when it was just the two of us that, we can't be trusted because we'll just.
We went long with just the two of us.
I know.
It was really bad.
It was.
We're like, this is going to be so easy. It's in the bag, man.
Yeah.
We're just going to slide into an hour, no problem.
Like an hour, 40 minutes later, we're
Yeah.
like, oh man, we might have gone off topic a few times.
little bit.
Anyway, though, so once I finished that, I finally got to relax a little bit because I've been trying to get that done for a long time. So Monday came along and we actually had some really good weather in Montana, which it has not been very nice out lately. Seriously, one of my best rock hunts all year. It was crazy. We were
No
finding
way. You keep on saying that.
it was so good. I don't want to say too much just because that video is a few weeks out still, but I cannot wrap my head around the amount of agates that we found. It was crazy. And a very, very long hike to reach said agates. So I'm glad that it paid off.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good one. Other than that, one of my shows and tells later will be in my video coming out Saturday, which was a hunt like 4 weeks ago because I'm just that backed up on videos at the moment.
Wow. So stay tuned for that preview, people.
Yes.
You know you want to see it.
Other than that, that has been my week for the most part.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. That was highly entertaining. And tangenty.
Yes.
And we were told by the Discord to keep the line and try to stay away from the tangents. We're already like,
no. Do they know me?
Yeah. I think Gold Leader was telling us to stay off the tangents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so anyways, my week, did a lot of cutting, thunder eggs for the recent video that I just put out from the big range over on the east side of our state, the biggest, fault, range that we have in here. And, it's got one killer hike and a bunch of really pretty eggs that I'm going to show at the show and tell as well this evening. And we also have a spoil on something else that I'm working on. I couldn't keep my dirty little fingers off of those sunstones from our last hunt, and so I I found one that needed some attention. So you guys get to see the preview of that later. And I've been updating my website. Oh, technology. We were just having that discussion, and
yes,
I'm not my forte. I would rather be drilling holes in things, people.
Yeah.
But I'm working on an adventure section, and I'm updating the rock section. And so this last adventure that we just went on, the cliff notes are there, and I'm going to be adding to those, and then I'm going to be breaking down some of the other trips that we just took. Another spoiler is that we went to Hampton Butte and brought back some fun material, and so that one's hopefully coming out. That's on my editing garbage page right behind what I'm talking to right now. And so that's that in the can, and I'm working on editing that up. And gosh, I think that is about it. Yeah, hit the website, tell me how I'm doing on those the adventure shots and all that kind of stuff. And I was running a fundraiser for stuff for my lapidary machine, so there's a sale over there on the jewelry things, just to help me get toys so that I can make the faceted stones.
What are you still down?
What's that?
What are you still missing at this point?
Okay, so I still need some of the DOPs. I had a really awesome person step forward and be able to send me some. But I need some more of the dubs, and then I'm still working on the laps.
Yeah.
And then there might be a mystery thing going on with it. I hope not. Because it is one of those instruments, Caitlin, that you don't want to like. And I think maybe it got a little bit of that when it was being transported from Washington to where it is exactly at this moment. And so,
dear.
Yep. But that's it. So that is all for my week, and on to questions for Caitlin. Now, I know we only scratched the surface of the massive ice planet iceberg that you're like, doing as far as projects go right now. So why don't you go ahead and indulge us a little bit more on like what's going on for you?
All right. Well, I can chat a little bit about the recent Utah trip.
Yes.
But there's some things that I'm not I can't say. Haha.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting. But I can give the overall why are we even out in Utah?
Yes.
It's not, I mean, it's pretty
cool
and
place.
everything.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And I haven't been back there since 2012. So it was really nice for me to be back there for sure. I will happily show, I brought back a lot of rocks
Yes.
from Utah as well for my own personal sanity.
Everybody listening understands you 100%.
Oh yeah. And we'll happily talk about traveling with rocks probably here in a bit. But but why I was out in Utah though is because I was on the rover science team. So this particular rover was built out of Carnegie Mellon University in partnership with the Lunar Planetary Institute, or LPI, and with the University of Colorado Boulder. So we all teamed up. We all went out to Utah, and we pretty much had our own simulation where the rover this time had an AI system. So it had an autonomous brain that we pre-programmed with. All we gave it was just a geologic map, a very basic one, and we just let it go off on its own, like plop, go do geology. Very, very simple instruments and everything like that. I was in charge of cameras just to make sure it didn't accidentally yeet itself off of a cliff or it got stuck on a ditch or anything like that. A little bit important there. But the simulation was really interesting though, is that me being part of the science team, and I was on a science team with several other people too, is that we actually couldn't see anything with the field sight ahead of time. To make the simulation as real as possible, we could not see any of this ahead of time. So for 2 weeks straight,
study, as it were.
Almost true, yes.
Yeah.
But if the rover was giving us all this data of like, oh, look at all the cool rocks I'm finding and everything, how do we interpret it without seeing the site ourselves, kind of deal? So exactly. So none of us got to see the field site ahead of time. So that way we're not biased and go, oh, well, it should have picked up this other kind of rock, or why didn't it go over here? We had to be completely blind to wherever it was being dropped off at. And to make its own geologic discoveries, ping it back to us in the control room. We were a couple miles away in our own little control room for 2 weeks, and just get images pinged back to us. We had a couple different kinds of instruments called spectrometers. So spectrometers can tell us about the chemistry. It can tell us what minerals are out there, what kind of rocks we're dealing with. We would make these beautiful panoramas. I mean, it was just absolutely gorgeous out there. So we were around the Green River area of Utah, for those of you who would happen to know where that is in Utah. So very much middle of nowhere, which is perfect for what we were doing. And yeah, there were obvious technical difficulties. Yeah. I mean, really. It's fine. But the rover did its job like a good little rover, and that's pretty much all I can really tell you for now, though. But I can tell you though, it took a lot of images though. So it took about 1,500 images while out there. So me being camera ops, I was very busy.
Yeah, that's a lot to process.
Yeah, for sure. But very, very exciting. So having Utah be almost this kind of analog for Mars, or even just testing instruments, that's what a lot of planetary scientists do. Specifically geologists that study planetary science. Not all of us handle telescopes. Not all of us handle meetings well either. Oh well. But there is a percentage of us that go all around the world to study different kinds of planets. It's fascinating to then tell you then that Iceland and Hawaii, the volcanoes in Iceland and Hawaii, are the best examples of volcanoes that we see on Mars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we are able to go to those places and study how do the volcanoes work in Hawaii and Iceland, we have a better idea as to what might be happening on Mars. Or even going to Antarctica. A lot of planetary people go to Antarctica because it's dry. It's considered a desert. It's very close to the polar regions on Mars. You also find meteorites, a lot of meteorites in Antarctica as well. So even Antarctica is a fantastic playground for us planetary people. So thankfully we stayed domestic travel and went to Utah, but because trying to travel with that rover in a trailer was
oh my gosh, yeah.
We were all like biting nails of like, please get to Utah in one piece, please.
Yeah.
I will say though, at one point the camera did accidentally fall off.
Oh wow.
It did look like a headless horseman at one point. Well, we got it fixed. There was a whole engineering team that I'm sure this looked hysterical, and I wish I had seen this. But from what I can hear via like intercom, was that the rover is left to do its own geology fine. You have a group of engineers toddling behind it to make sure if it were to break down, they could fix it very quickly on the spot. But can you imagine just a gaggle of engineers just right behind this rover, just minding its own business, like, oh, pretty rough. I would love to have seen that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's out of a comedic movie for sure.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I definitely have probably my favorite rock from that trip for my show and tell tonight. So I'll share that later.
Sweet. We can't wait to see that, of course. Like, you've always spellbound with your awesome rocks. So
what Dr. not Dr. Oz, Mr. Wizard of Oz, I heard him talking, the man behind the curtain.
Oh, yeah.
Just make sure you send me pictures before you go to bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I almost called him Dr. Oz.
Thank you, Dr. Oz.
Thanks, Dr. Oz.
Dr. Mr. Wizard Oz.
Dr. Wizard.
Oh goodness.
Steven.
Yes. Do you have a question, Mortimer, or should we
the problem is I have like all of the questions, so it's like
a zillion questions.
I honestly, like, that's my problem whenever we have Caitlin on, is that I have 20 billion questions, but any story that she has is just perfect for me. So it's really just trying to figure out a question that is a good prompt for story time. So I don't even know. Help me out, Karen.
Okay, well,
It's
we've
too
got
hard.
like this bevy of questions also from the Discord, so we could crack into some of those for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think that really quick, I mean, you did your projects for the week, and you kind of gave us an overview of what you've just been up to. For anybody who didn't see your other 2 podcasts, can you really quick tell everybody what you do at NASA? Like what your thing is? Yeah, it just occurred to me
My
that
thing.
maybe one person out there might not know.
Absolutely. So I'm a postdoctoral researcher at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. And I mostly work with the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter science team. So that means that I do a lot of moon stuff. I do a lot of moon research, but I also dabble around the solar system. I really do. I
want to say that.
Right?
Around the solar system.
Solar system dabbling. Yeah.
Dabbling. I mean, I just like just last summer I was doing some Venus work. I did some Ganymede work not too long ago. I just finished a lot of moon projects lately. I'm still doing a lot of moon projects now. I'll be in Chicago for the American Geophysical Union, or AGU, if anybody is a member out there. Hello. So our big conference is in December. So I'll be presenting there. And all sorts of stuff. Probably getting back to Venus here pretty soon. Oh dear. And Venus is a tricky planet, and I'm happy to answer any future questions about why Venus is a tricky planet. And let's see, any other planets I'm working on? Pluto. I might be presenting on Pluto in January. So
right on. Yeah. Just for those of you who haven't seen the other 2, definitely go check them out, because we do get a lot of fill in on the Pluto thing and some of the stuff that you were into like last year and that sort of thing. So very cool, very interesting, every single tidbit. And let's see, to start off, we've got Greg D from the Discord, and he was wondering, will the James Webb be able to assist you in your projects?
Oh, fantastic question. Very good. So
Good boy,
JWST,
Greg.
yes.
He's in the chat right now being like,
oh yeah, he absolutely is.
Yay. JWST is a fantastic telescope. And if anybody has not seen the images that have been coming out of JWST, oh my goodness. I mean, you can use them as your desktop wallpaper. I know I am. For sure. Just spectacular images. So as far as solar system imaging goes, that's a bit on the tricky side of things. It can be done, but not in high resolution either, though. So its main job is to look very, very, very far out. Let's just say JWST is very nearsighted. So it can like barely look at Pluto, but we're not going to see much in the way of surface features or anything to that effect. We're going to see some dark pixels and light pixels, maybe some pretty good atmosphere stuff, now that we know that Pluto has a beautiful, luscious nitrogen, methane atmosphere. That could be helpful. It's very luscious. It's very hazy. It's a beautiful atmosphere. Good job, Pluto. But that's basically it that we can get through JWST. Now, what in kind of an interesting backwards way here, though, is that we're looking at exoplanets really, really well with JWST. Again, not surface features and go, okay, this planet has flamingos.
And I wish there was a flamingo planet out there.
I mean, trust me, I
wear
wish
your
so
Bermuda
too.
shorts there.
Bright pink planet, like come on.
Oh my gosh.
That would be amazing. But not to that scale and not to that resolution. But in that case, we're looking at exoplanets with the atmospheres. What kind of exoplanets could there possibly be? Could some of them be habitable around their own stars? In that case, learning about exoplanets really gives us the sense of how do we view Earth and our solar system in the viewpoints of those other systems? How do we view our own solar system as an exoplanetary system? So we're kind of looking far away and then retrospectively looking back at us and go, how would we look to those other observers way far away? How would we do?
Interesting.
So it's a really interesting and nearly philosophical here
Yeah.
viewpoint here. So JWST is going to be helping us out with that as far as solar system goes. Another cool thing though is that it's going to really help us find baby planets, which is really, really cute. So you have these very young, just hot, spinny, dusty stars, and all that dust is twirling around like a tutu. And within the tutu, that's what it looks like.
It works.
It works.
I love the analogy.
In the tutu of these very violent young stars, there can be really tiny planets forming in the dusty tutus of these very violent stars. And so JWST can hone in on those and go like, oh, little baby planets are forming, and they're so cute.
Just picture
With
an
violent
entire
cosmic
office room.
tutus.
Yeah. I just pictured an entire room of NASA scientists just cuddled around the monitor, like, oh, look at it.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
Right.
That's great.
We definitely have that sense of humor. I kid you not, we really do.
That's what my friend Derek was telling me. He's like, man, I know an NASA scientist. They're the most fun people to hang out with.
Yay. Glad to hear it.
Which actually reminds me, I do have two questions kind of tied together, but those have to do with one of my show and tells. So I will remind me to ask you that during show and tell, because
attempting to remember the formula.
Yes, because I know I'll forget.
Now I'm intrigued. Okay.
So you had mentioned Artemis missions, and one of the questions here, again from Greg, was possibly landing at the moon's south pole and sampling the water ice found there. So you kind of indulged us a little bit, and he even asked, "Is that top secret?"
It is not. No.
Okay.
It's definitely not top secret. So I get to finally use my analogy right now.
Yes.
That I said before we went live here, is planning a mission, any kind of planetary mission, whether you have a crewed or uncrewed mission, robotic mission, whatever, even just a simple little CubeSat, doesn't matter. Planning a mission is very much like planning and directing and producing a movie. It's very scarily similar, but you have to have a story, in which case your purpose of why you want to study such and such. So in this case, why do we want to study the water ice on the moon? That is our storyline right there. And then we have to storyboard it. Okay, do you want a rover, a lander, crewed, uncrewed, satellite, not satellite? What instruments do you want? When do they turn on? What resolution do you want? So getting your equipment ready. What cameras do you need? What wide shots do you want? What's your lighting going to be? In which case, it's very important for the moon. What are your lighting conditions then?
Right. If your probe is going to that dark side thing.
Exactly. So sending astronauts to the South Pole of the moon, we've never done that before. And it's incredibly risky because there are a lot of places on the South Pole of the moon that never see the light of day, or never see the light of day for days on end. And so if you're having communications are going to be a really, really big challenge. So there's a whole team working on communications then. So all of this being planned out just very much like a movie. And all the communication between the camera engineers and the audio engineers and the actors and the producers, all of that's very similar to a planetary mission. Your producers are your funding sources. Make sure that you have your private companies versus your government companies. Are universities involved? Are the instruments on time and ready to go? So all of this is in sync. And if one little bit is missing or delayed, your movie is delayed as well. Your release time is delayed, in which case your launch date is delayed as well. So in this case, Artemis 1 and 2 are considered our dress rehearsals for Artemis 3. So Artemis 3 is going to be finally our crewed mission. So finally boots on the ground, South Pole of the Moon, hooray. But Artemis 1 and 2 are still getting worked on. So Artemis 1 was actually supposed to launch quite a bit ago. So nearly a month ish ago now. Not to date this episode or anything, but we do have a new launch date though. So fingers crossed everybody for November 14th. That is our next launch date. For Artemis 1. So this is going to be uncrewed. It's not going to land on the moon or anything. It's truly just going to whip around the moon, come back. But it's what we call a dress rehearsal. So having boots on the ground, though, where that storyboard is right now is that we're still making the storyboard. We have a map, and that's what I help work on is creating the maps. Where's all the good spots? We narrowed it down to, I believe, 13 or 14 spots right now. We haven't narrowed it down since. And so we just got those spots truly just a few weeks ago. Now it's a mad dash as to, okay, which of these 14 spots are we going to land our astronauts?
Where are we going on vacation?
Where are we going? Vacation,
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it's truly going to be like a weekend trip. It's only going to be like a 2 or 3 day thing. They're going to come right back home, and then they're going to be like, well, that wasn't a vacation.
You can only have an overnight bag. Has to fit here. Yeah.
They have to pack very light for sure.
Yeah. I actually want to see, I might have a picture on my computer. If not, I'll have to send you one, Kyle. We actually saw Artemis on the launch pad when we were in Florida last, which was super cool. So I've actually seen Artemis. It's awesome. Derek took us out to see it.
You and Artie are friends.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a picture of it on this computer. This is a relatively new computer. If not, I will send one to Kyle and he can put it up after.
Put it up here.
Like anywhere, really. Just wherever he sees fit. Like in 20 minutes randomly out of nowhere. Where the context is lost.
Right. Total non sequitur.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. So Ken had a question. What are your thoughts on sending a submarine to Titan?
Oh, a submarine to Titan. Well, let's see, how big can the submarine be? So this is kind of a two-part answer here, though, because one, sending a submarine to Titan could get interesting because there's some really, really large lakes. Very large lake areas at the poles of Titan. So you would need to make sure that you actually land in the lake, not accidentally on the surface. And then in which case your submarine will become just a crushed up tin can. Oops.
Yeah.
So land correctly into the lakes of Titan, in which case go for it. It would be a very slow descent. Because it would be very squishy. It'd be almost kind of diving into sludge.
Jello.
Very much Jello. Very, very slow, gunky, dark. Probably wouldn't smell very good either, though. Jello. However, it would make a fantastic fizzing noise, though. Yeah. So the closest thing that we can equivalent here, though, is like Pop Rocks. So
Jello with Pop Rocks in it. This is great.
Jello with Pop Rocks. My third grade inner child just got very happy about Jello and Pop Rocks at the same time here. Yeah. But the beaches and the islands on Titan are created with a very specific kind of chemistry that if any bit of the lakes flood over onto the beaches and the islands, they will make a little bit of a bubbly, fizzy reaction. And we've done this in many laboratories, especially out at JPL. They have tested these materials and have found all the really cool effervescent plop plop
You
fit.
guys have all the fun.
Literally fit
I
in.
swear. I want to be in that lab.
Right?
It's
sounds
really
fun.
interesting. Oh, it's fantastic. It was fantastic to watch the videos for the first time whenever they released it for the first time. And we're all at a planetary conference and they showed us the videos for the first time of just, it's like this tiny little vial and it's bubbling, but the rest of us are like, oh, it bubbles. This is so cool.
Right.
So-
They're rock stars.
We're all very, very excited about the tiniest things. So
That's
sending
awesome.
a submarine to Titan would be really interesting. Now, the other part of that answer then is that there are folks out there, mostly out of, I believe, Cornell and Georgia Tech, and maybe a group out of Houston. They are currently at least having like markups and storyboarding, or even designing space submarines right now.
Okay.
So that-
like,
that is a
Ken, have
thing.
you been cheating? Yeah. Nice.
So the cool part though is, how do you build a small enough submarine? Because we want to build it small. That's the point of launching things, is you got to make it small, make it light. But dealing with ice, you don't want something terribly rigid, or it could snap or anything. So current technology right now is looking into submarines that maybe have, those city buses have the little accordion bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Can those space submarines have a bit of an accordion movement to them?
Ah, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like an articulated submarine. That's what
Yeah.
I want to drive.
So
wants
that's
to be
currently currently in blueprint mode for a
Ah,
couple of
that's
groups
so
going on.
cool.
That
Oh
is
my gosh.
awesome.
Yeah, that's like geek factor.
Right?
Nice. All right. Thank you for that, Greg.
Best
And
Ken.
I'm
Thank you
looking at
both.
Greg. Thank you, Ken and Greg.
Yes.
These are the two that were like seriously going to fisticuffs, like trying to like do each other with questions, I think. And so it was Ken again that asked, who do I petition to get a land feature on Pluto named after the guy in charge of the mission? I think Stern Plateau has a nice ring to it.
Oh, well, the interesting part about getting features named on other planets and moons and dwarf planets, comets, asteroids, you name it. The sad part about this is that the person needs to be dead for it to go through. So
we don't really wish that on people.
And then you need to wait about 3 years. So yeah, I mean, by all means, it does have a nice ring to it, but you know what? We're not quite there yet. The PI of the New Horizons mission is still going strong. He's been doing really well. He actually just got back from an expedition, back to submarines now. He just got back from an expedition to visit the Titanic. So he's very adventurous.
Wow, all the cool kids get to go do that.
I remember you talked a bit last time you were on about how most celestial bodies have like they have rules. You can't just be like, this. I think the joke we made last time was this asteroid sponsored by McDonald's or something like that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the joke.
Yeah.
Oh, look, the McRib crater.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
But yes, I mean, there is some very strict rules, and it's about a 90-page PDF of a rule book. And I myself have named a couple things on Pluto, and one feature on Mars. I was on a team that named a dune field on Mars, and then on Pluto, I named 2 fault systems. Not a knot crater, and I didn't want to say hole, because that just sounded weird. So a knot crater hole and a glacier on Pluto.
Is there a dad joke here?
There is. You should have named a fault my.
Oh, my fault.
My fault.
Yep.
He's like, okay, I'm leaving now.
And-
I will try to make that happen now. Oh my goodness. Yes.
That's great.
But you have to spell it like MAI, so it's like not like yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh goodness, yes. But yeah, there's definitely rules on, because every planet, asteroid, and comet has a theme as well.
Right.
And it's not just an overarching theme. Then every
Mhm.
feature could have a theme. So Pluto kind of has a mixed theme, where large regions are named after missions. So we have the Hayabusa, we have Venera, Sputnik. But then darker regions are Lovecraftian, so we have Cthulhu.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And then like fault systems have to be named after heroes or warriors that have traveled to the underworld.
Nice.
Yeah. So a
cool.
very different theme in that case, though. But then you have asteroids that have asteroids probably have the weirdest naming schemes of all, for sure. Oh goodness. So there's an asteroid that all the craters on the asteroid, actually, fans out there would love this one. So the asteroid Stein has, every crater on Stein is named after gemstones.
That's
nice.
awesome.
Our
So
new
there's
favorite
amethyst,
asteroid.
there's citrine, there's I mean, it's beautiful. So there's Stein, mainly because the asteroid itself looks like a giant gemstone. It's very diamond like of an asteroid. So
We're sure it's not the Borg or anything like that.
Yeah. It's not a Borg cube just floating around.
Not at all. No. But probably the weirdest asteroid I will tell you about is Gaspra. So the asteroid Gaspra, dinky little asteroid, but the crater is named on this poor asteroid, though. Whoever decided to have this theme, why? But the theme of the craters on Gaspra are named after spas and resorts.
Yeah. That is, yep.
That's amazing.
Question mark invoking.
That's fantastic.
Everything else is very cultural. You can use it as like a learning educational resource. Like the craters on Bennu, with the Osiris Rex mission. They're named after African birds. That makes sense because it's Osiris. It's very Egyptian mythology there. No, we're gonna go with resorts and spas on this other asteroid here.
Me being the troll that I am, I unironically love that.
See, there's
you
something for
just
everybody.
know whoever decided that was sitting there like, sandals.
Oh no, wait, is that on the list? I have to know.
Right?
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna do a really
be a
quick
burning
Google
question.
search.
Yeah.
No. I can do a really quick Google search on this.
We're gonna
You
find
guys
this
keep
out right now.
chatting.
Oh no, that's I'm equally curious now.
That's
I
too funny.
really need to know.
I really hope there is.
Oh,
That would make my
gracious.
So,
I don't know if I would be happy or sad.
right?
Probably amused. Just amused.
Right.
So while she's doing the quick search, I think that we covered one of the last times this question, but I think it bears revisitation only because I bet there's other people out there wondering this thing. And it is, does she think there might be agates to be found at any of the volcanoes that you've studied, on the planets? So
that's a fantastic question. Oh goodness. So the thing about agates is that you would need what's called cryptocrystalline quartz or any kind of silica, and usually some sort of water as it cements together, and you get the really pretty banding together kind of deal. Sometimes you can have the vugs and voids in there as well. Maybe some druzy, which is always really pretty and sparkly in agates as well. So having that kind of silica, we're actually really not entirely sure that it would, if anywhere in the solar system, it would be on Mars, aside from Earth. Nowhere else on the solar system would probably have any kind of silica to that extent. So having silica, which we do know that there's silica on Mars, we do know that there was water on Mars. So could there be agates on Mars? Maybe. In that case, they would be very buried. Though, unfortunately, we do know that there were a lot of like muddy banks as well. So probably not to the point of geodes on Mars, but maybe agates. I doubt that they would be gem quality. A really cool thing that we have found on Mars is that there's large opal fields, but they're not gem quality. But still exciting to know that there's opal
doesn't matter
on Mars.
It
doesn't matter. No, it's still raw opal.
Yeah,
and the fact that opal has formed on Mars too is really quite beautiful. There's some really beautiful spots to go rock hounding on Mars for sure.
That's what he said. He said he might want to go rock hounding on Mars someday. Wanted to know if there's going to be agates there.
Yeah. In that case, the gemstone hotspot then for Mars is a place called Noctis Labyrinthus. So
a duly like fabulously decorative name.
Yeah, that's better than resorts, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's better than sandals or Hilton.
Yeah, sad to say that there is no sandals.
It's probably a good thing.
Probably.
Mortimer's gonna become a research astronomer so that he
find
can
a new
something
crater on this asteroid just so I can put his sandals on it.
But I love I have the database in front of me. I love that there is a crater on Gaspra called Spa.
There you go.
Just Spa.
Just Spa crater. Right. Glad we clarified that.
Trust us, you'll like it. It's just Spa. Yeah.
It's just Spa.
Generic Spa. We do the
why
least.
not?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But it's spas and resorts of the world. For sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there is some interesting names on here.
I'm gonna have to look that up later.
Yeah. It's
taking notes
it's publicly available. So this is what you would Google. You would Google USGS planetary names.
Okay.
And then that'll give you the whole database, and you can just run wild. You can see the rule book. The rule book is attached as well. You can see all the different. They update it as to, what have been the latest names that have been approved as of late. So, as looking at the website right now, 8 names have been approved on Mars recently. Goodness gracious, I don't think I can pronounce any of them. So
my goodness.
Yeah. Okay.
Perhaps
then.
discovery's not from here. Okay. Well, we do have another musing here from Ken. You know what would be cool to find on Mars? He asks. Turan meteorite, and he said that there has to be some somewhere. That would be a good question topic. And then, would she hope or expect to see if an ancient meteorite from Earth was found on another planet? Interesting question.
Oh, I love this question.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited. No, this is fantastic because this is actually a current question going on right now. Funny enough, this has been actually one of a priority questions for not only Mars, but also the moon as well. Can we find Earth, especially early Earth meteorites on the moon?
Wouldn't that
And
be
so
cool?
that is actually a one of our priority, like, okay, what if we did send people to Earth and Mars, or even just more rovers? How can we train the rovers to understand
Truffle
what an
dog.
early Earth rock would even look like, sniff it out, and then send it to Moon and Mars and go sniff, go
fine.
Go sniff it out. And so yes, that is something that we are looking into currently. And that in itself is actually going more towards the astrobiology portion of NASA to answer that. And so now we're asking ourselves, okay, what would an early Earth look like? Okay, so your silica content is different. Your oxygen isotopes would be at this level. And so that's actually would be your main bits there. Can we almost synthetically create rocks to have that kind of signature to train our rovers and our instruments specifically to find those kinds of rocks?
Wow,
That is
that's
so cool.
fantastic. I love that idea.
Excited. I'm so happy someone asked that question to me, because it's like, yes, that is a big thing that we're working on right now.
That would be so amazing to find, a piece of home on the moon.
Right.
That would just be such a mind blow. Very cool. Thank you, Ken. Another good question. I mean, like I said, they had swords drawn. It was so fun to watch. Poiky or Patrick, he was just making a mention that it looked like you were getting involved in the Uranus and its moon. So I guess maybe he went to go check out. And do you have your own page that one can go check out? Is that what he was looking at, or?
I mean, not yet. So the thing about the whole Uranus thing now is that it's now become a priority of NASA's for the next decade. So this is, remember storyboarding here?
Yeah.
NASA then gives us scientists what we call a roadmap, and we do it by decade. So we just got our newest roadmap at the beginning of this year. And our roadmap then gives us a good general idea. So like, okay, what should we focus on as a community? And so one of the priorities that our planetary community was very, very, very loud about was, we need to go to Uranus and Neptune. Well, the unfortunate part about Neptune is that we've missed our window to visit. So Neptune is unfortunately not priority right now. But Uranus is still in our line of sight. We can get there cheaply and fast at this point in time. So
relative terms
here, right? I mean, it's gonna take
weekend trip, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
if
a few dozen.
If a weekend trip is about 8 years, then
yeah,
minimum.
That's what driving to Denver feels like.
I would love that kind of weekend trip.
Right.
All on board. As long as I have Netflix and a couple good books and a lot of tea, then I think I'll be fine. So the thing about the Uranus being a priority, though, is that now everyone is still talking amongst ourselves right now as to what do we do? How do we make the storyboard? So we haven't even begun the storyboard yet. We're still all chatting about what is this thing even going to look like? Right now we're still asking the questions. What do we want to learn? What should be our priorities of learning about these ice giants? And then we can start whittling that down as to like, okay, here's the grand questions. What instruments can we have to answer those questions? And then from those instruments, what can we build in a small time frame, in small structure, in cheap cost, and then whittle it out there.
Right. Shoot it out there.
Right.
So yeah, that was actually, he wanted to know, like, he asked the question about the proposition of sending the orbiter there. You're talking about the story arc. So yeah, why are we doing it? And he was asking about why is it interesting? And I think that you kind of covered that a little bit. Like, that's part of the conversation right now that you scientists are having, is like, well, of course it's interesting. It's a nice giant, we can get to it. That makes it interesting right there. It's within grasp. And then, are there other points that, like, for you personally, like, what would you love to see in that investigation?
Oh yes. Well, and so kind of getting back a little bit here is that think of just the geologic community here is that we're all interested in different aspects. Yeah, we're all rock nerds. Woo. But we all have different preferences, right? Some of us prefer certain gemstones. Maybe some of us prefer lapidary versus other means. We all like our specific tools more than others. Some are more proficient in wet saws versus the rock hammer, or some are very proficient of like agates versus no, I like the raw stuff. Or like
Yeah.
so we all like different things, even though we're all in the general mineralogy rock hounding community. We all have our preferences. And so that's where the discussions lie right now, is that we all have different preferences with studying Uranus. So my particular preference is that Uranus is Uranus, but the moons of Uranus are very fascinating to a geologic standpoint. How did they form? How did they get there in the first place? You have the brightest moon and the darkest moon in the solar system, both at Uranus. Why? There's different kinds of ices at Uranus as well. Some have more carbon dioxide than others. Why? Why don't they all have the same ice? Some have these huge gash marks of tectonics, and some of them are just like, I'm cratered. Yippee. Again, why is that? So I'm more of the moon geologic person, but some people want to know, like, why is Uranus tilted on its side?
Yeah.
That's a very, very good question. What's going on with the rings of Uranus? Also, the atmosphere of Uranus is very, very beautiful, but it's very, very different than Neptune. They both have methane, but why doesn't Uranus have? It has some storm systems, but compared to Neptune and Jupiter, it doesn't seem as bad of stormy weather as the other two. So
isn't it
what's
like
going
90
on?
to 500 miles per hour?
I mean, it's fast. It's definitely some of the fastest winds in the solar system. Make all the Uranus jokes you want. I mean, I've heard them all. I've legitimately heard them all. But it's still, but I'm not an atmosphere person. I'm not a ring physicist. Another really cool thing about the atmosphere of Uranus and Neptune is that they both rain diamonds.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about this.
Yeah.
I mean, tiny piddly little things though, but it's because there's so much pressure going on in the atmosphere and there's so much carbon going on that it just really intensely crushes those carbon atoms together, and what we consider to be diamond. It's again not gem quality. You're not going to get industrial. A princess cut. Yeah,
still,
well, or you're not going to get a princess cut anywhere there either. Yeah. I mean,
it's good for sandpaper though.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, yeah.
I'm thinking about all my
cut.
Yeah. I'm thinking of all my Dremel burrs that I go through. I'm like, man,
we need a planet like that.
We need a planet that rains industrial diamonds.
Just drop it in and it'll get polished in a millisecond.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. But all of these different questions, that's just it though, is that there's a lot of questions and a lot of voices. Now we're still asking all these questions. The next step in this planning stage is to narrow down the questions, and then what is our current technology able to do to answer those questions. So right now we're in that kind of an awkward phase of narrowing down questions, what technology can answer. So it kind of up and down here.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Good answer. Ken asked about, I was rocking this earlier, the planet X. Is it out there? Is it real? What do you think?
We don't know.
Mystery.
Yeah, so it is very much a mystery. So so interestingly enough, so Planet X was brought about back in 1894, I believe. So Percival Lowell, so the same person who has a named observatory out in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's a beautiful observatory to go visit. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. But this is also where Pluto was discovered as well. So how this all came about, though, is that the orbits of certainly Uranus and maybe even Saturn, their orbits are a little weird. There's just some little tiny little oscillations going on. Maybe even Neptune as well, but little itty bitty tiny oscillations here. And so piddly little Pluto couldn't possibly create vibrations like that. And so think of it this way, is that the orbits are almost like spider webs.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you have the web part vibrating, where's the spider?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or what caused
it.
the vibrations of the web? And so that's been a theory since
Is that like a perigee
1894.
kind of thing? Like okay.
Not necessarily. It's more along the lines of something would have had to zip close to those orbits way back when the planets were still forming, and those orbits were still forming. Everything was in chaos mode back in the day. Yeah, and so they're wondering, could a like giant planet of some sort have blasted through and just kind of got ejected and outward? And could it still be out there? Could that have caused the weird remnant oscillations that we still have around Uranus and Neptune and possibly even Saturn? So that's kind of the current theory, though, is that those vibrations are still there, but what could have caused that? Because they're not influencing each other. They kind of are, but not in that respect. So Planet X is an idea. Planet 9 is a completely different idea as well, but kind of along the same lines of different influences of planets. Could there be bigger planets outside of Pluto? So it's all over the place right now, though. There's no official say as to like what is Planet X. And you might be wondering why X. I mean, that sounds so spooky and mysterious and everything. Funny enough, though, is that we actually went through the alphabet. So and that's the one
and that's where it landed. It's pretty cool.
That's where it landed.
I like it.
I mean, I think up to like the 1930s, we truly have had mysterious hypothetical planets of like planet P, Q, R, S. I think it at least up to T. I mean, and then it would have had to land at X at some point. So
happy accident.
Lucky X. Yeah.
happy accident.
Happy accident. Oh, man.
Take that, Kyle.
In your face, Kyle.
Right.
Yeah, I already hit my quota.
I guess that's fair.
See, here's the thing about space puns is that you got to plan it.
Oh.
I mean, they are infinite too.
Yes.
We're just gonna sit back.
I know Karen are like, pun off.
Just pun battles. I mean, there's just so many. There's just so many. We'd be here for hours. It's practically astronomical.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right. So
All right.
Ken G, on this perfect note, have you tried any printed food?
Oh goodness. No. Mainly because it hasn't been distributed to the rest of us. But it's very entertaining to hear what all the what astronauts get to eat, what the engineers get to try. We kind of joke about the whole chef's perks kind of deal where it's like, okay, you grew it, you eat it. Let us know. But we don't want to see the menu anytime soon. So as far as printed food goes, still to be determined, I assume though. But you know what? We're making a lot of headway with growing food on the International Space Station. So I believe they just had a lovely crop of radishes not too long ago.
Because everybody wants to just nosh down on radishes.
I know, right?
Especially when you've been in space.
The prime finger food of choice.
Very true.
Something I look forward to even on this planet every day. Sorry.
I mean, it gets, yeah, absolutely good for them. They got to you could say they got to relish in the crop.
She's still going.
Yep. I hear distant groaning. I think I've done my job.
That's how you know you have won the pun contest. You hear the other party go, It's like, yes.
That's awesome.
Mission accomplished.
I did ask you earlier, but if you want to briefly touch on, and then maybe we should get into our shows and tells. Did you hope to be one of those astronauts to land on the moon? Was asked by Greg. Yeah.
So my typical answer in this is that they can bring the rocks back to me. I will happily be in my office awaiting said rocks. I will not be going into space anytime soon. I've had lovely chats with many astronauts already, and I very much know the after effects of being in space for, even just a few days. Can be interesting effects on the human body, and so learning all of that ahead of time, it's like, you know what, I'm good.
Making an informed decision on that one.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit here.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I have the opportunity to go high altitude and maybe try microgravity for just a few hours, as long as I could come back down, I'm all for that. All right. I will happily let you guys know if I end up doing that. But for several days in space, that might be a bit of a pass for me.
I'm right there.
I'll happily train the astronauts to figure out, okay, here's the good rocks that you need to find for me, please.
Perfect.
It's like one of Alexis's biggest dreams is to go to space, and I'm like, I'm good on the holes in your bones.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm good on that.
and trying to work out in zero gravity.
I think I did this last time too. But
yeah.
Every day has an awesome video about how you work out in a vacuum when things are weightless. It's fascinating.
And I checked that out afterwards too.
Yeah, it's so good. He also has a video on how the moon rocks are stored and how they have to be kept in vacuum, and people wear hazmat suits because the moment a moon rock is exposed to open air, it is no longer a moon rock. It starts oxidizing immediately.
It's contaminated.
Yeah, that video is fascinating.
It's a big deal. Oh yeah, there's a whole initiative called the ANGSA. So the ANGSA initiative. So ANGSA is the Apollo Next Generation Scientific Analysis.
Gotta love them acronyms.
I got the ANG part. But their whole initiative is that there's been Apollo samples that have never been opened until recently, or they're about to be.
Whoa!
And so this is a fun little history fact from the Apollo era is that we planned this since the 60s and 70s is that we planned this out of specific samples from the Apollo 15, 16, and 17 missions. We had it under contract of these samples are not to be opened until specific instruments and technology were developed.
Sometimes
to
we're
be
smart.
able. Yes, we actually thought ahead of time on this,
Right?
and so those have been very much stored away for many years, nearly up to 50 plus years in cold storage, because then it's like, okay, are our instruments and technology ready? And so we're actually reevaluating ourselves, going, are we actually ready to analyze those samples? And so that's the current like nail biting moment now, is we're going to be testing some of those samples very carefully and go, are we ready? Do we need to improve? And then let's not open all the samples just yet until we really know if we're ready just yet.
That is so cool.
I would highly recommend everyone go watch that video too, because it's the amount of cataloging that they have to do. Like every time they cut a little piece off, it gets labeled, and there's like some that had started off as like one rock that are down to like 500th like fraction of that rock, and they're all labeled and can be actually put back together if they all were in the same place because they were labeled so extensively. Like it's a really fascinating video.
And most of that labeling is some poor grad student or two.
So unpaid labeling.
So hug your local grad student.
Right.
Everybody.
They're
gonna need
it. Awesome. Well, it looks like I'm like orbiting the sun or something.
It does.
This is crazy lighting going on. I don't know what happened. Like
it's still very Halloween.
There we go.
Yeah.
Like at least I'm not like Oompa Loompa red yet. Or I was for a little while. Okay, so the question that segues us into shows and tells would be, do you have any go-to locations and have a favorite rock or mineral in your area that that she'd like to find? Or of course you have the ones that you just came back with. So
I have several pounds worth of rocks from gorgeous Utah. I mean, I really can't say that I have a favorite place because there's so many and whatnot though, but I will show my favorite rock, at least from Utah, that I did get. There's my camera.
Oh wow, that's
gorgeous.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looks carnelian-ish with like a druzy pocket.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a little bit of a druzy pocket here. It's definitely some like agate, fiery agate going on.
I'd be so excited.
Yeah.
I was very excited to find this out in the field. I was just like, very exciting.
Yeah, that's exceptional.
So that's my show and tell.
That's it. we don't get more show and tell this guy.
Next
He's
time.
Show the jar
Next
again.
time. I was gonna say we're just creating excuses to bring her back as many times.
At this point, I could truly just pick up more rocks out of the jar here and just go like, here's some.
Oh, that's cool.
Some nice.
Oh my gosh.
It kind of looks like it's been worked.
I know, right? And it has a nice sharp edge there, right?
It really does.
What is that called, Mortimer? Spalling? When you get the
spalling is when you take a big rock and you smack off littler pieces to make the rough blank.
Oh, you guys might actually like this one. So this is a bit of a tree that has been
Is it a limb cast?
I forgot what this is called. But it's like sulfides going on here. So like a gypsum cast going on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We have those in Montana.
Yeah.
Neat.
So this would have been a piece of a dead tree, and then
that is so cool.
Gypsum would kind of coat it.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that's great.
So
good one.
That is my show and tells.
Okay.
Your guys' turn.
Thank you for that. Like, forgive me for like more. Next time, Karen, you'll have to wait.
Yes. just promise us there's a next time.
Yes.
Always more
I hope
questions.
to come back. I hope to come back next time.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. Already invited.
Yeah,
So
we
Mortimer,
planned on it.
Before Mortimer starts, Mortimer has to time out because Mortimer is out of his 2 waters and needs a third.
Okay.
All right. I'll be right back. Sorry. I'll be fast.
Yes. So what are you looking forward to as far as through the winter? Like what happens next for you?
Sleeping.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that Utah trip was really high energy. We need working fast, long hours. I had to really make sure that the rover was working fine, communications were working fine, everything was working fine. So that was a long couple weeks for me, and I truly just got back not too long ago too.
Wow.
So
Thank you for coming on then. I know that
yeah.
could be like so intense, but I'm kind of super stoked that we're getting you so wound too. You're still all wound off of it,
I am.
You can tell.
You're catching me at a very good time.
Yeah.
So I think for the winter, I mean, I need to catch up on writing, which I mean, to every scientist out there listening, that's always an internal struggle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a lot of fun data, a lot of fun maps to write papers about now. So that's my next thing, and like I said, I'll be in Chicago in mid-December presenting on some cool moon stuff going on that I've been working on. So little teaser then, I guess, for next time that I could chat about though.
Yes,
So
please.
there's square craters on the moon.
Oh, what? Oh,
So
spoiler.
what does that even mean? And how can you get a square crater? Well, I'm not gonna say. So tune in next time.
Wow. I mean,
maybe be like hold on.
Yeah, he said you got the man in the curtain, like all out of the curtain.
Okay, there we go. So could it be me? I mean, you can't really tell us, but could it maybe be? I mean, how big are these craters?
I'm not saying a word.
Not saying.
Okay, I'll wait.
I know, but we're definitely perhaps like right after the conference maybe would be a good time for you to come back.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so I have the conference in Chicago and then another conference in Montreal. I'll be hopefully presenting some Pluto stuff there. And then I should hopefully have a nice little breather. But then we have our big planetary science conference happens in Houston every March. And that's going to be a big to do for all of us planetary people, because then we all rush into Houston and it's just one giant nerd fest.
I bet.
It gets very entertaining and exciting of just everybody chatting with each other, new results with everybody, missions coming up. It gets really entertaining. But I think the more entertaining part of all of it is that you can truly just walk up to someone and go, "Hi, what planet do you work on?"
Yeah.
And everybody will just start chatting about like, "Oh, I work on Mercury. Oh, I work on Venus. Oh, I work on Pluto." And it gets really, really fun.
How delightful.
Who works on what?
Yeah. So is it more hopped up right now because there are so many missions coming up? Do you
there's
anticipate?
always missions.
There's always, okay. So
there's always
business
missions.
as usual.
This is usual, but it switches from community to community. So like the Perseverance and the Curiosity rovers, the Mars community were really hyped up. New Horizons at Pluto, the outer solar system community got hyped up. Juno at Jupiter, that community got really hyped up. So it every community has their spotlights. So last March, the Venus community with the announcement that Venus gets 3 new missions in by 2030 or around 2030. So that's exciting for the Venus community. So they had their spotlight. We won't know what the spotlight would be coming up. My guess is that it's probably going to be the moon. because we have a lot of exciting missions coming up with the moon. We have Artemis, a lot of Artemis planning coming up. That's my guess, but I'm not entirely sure because Mars is also very busy as well. Osiris Rex is coming back from Bennu and bringing back samples. So they won't tell us until February.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be one heck of a party anyway you slice it.
We definitely make it a party. Yeah, for sure.
Sounds so much fun. That's cool. Before we cruise over to Mortimer and his shows and tells, do they ever have like a simulcast or a way to see the conference afterwards that's posted on a site or on YouTube or anything like that?
So some of the talks are on YouTube. But as far as other information, you have the program, in which case you have abstracts where people would just kind of have a little blurb about what they're presenting on or any kind of new results or anything. That program is freely available for everybody and anybody to sift through. But other than that, if anybody out there who is part of the press and media, we do allow the media to come to these conferences to then chat and hang out with us scientists. And if you want a news story, then
Mortimer, do you want to start a news channel?
I'm down.
Let's totally crash this thing.
I'm so all for that.
That'd be rad.
Just make a publication just long enough to get in.
Yeah, I mean the Rockhound podcast, that's a good platform, and we could make it like
we do have podcast people coming in too, so it can be journalists, it can be newscasters, and yeah, I have chatted with a few podcast folks out at the conference before. So if you or any listeners out there want to join us Space Nerds for a day or a few days out in Houston in mid-March, come right on over.
That sounds
awesome. That is an awesome invitation. So tempting. I'm gonna have to really seriously think about that. Okay, Mortimer, what you got?
Well, one of the things that I was going to talk about, I was trying to look stuff up so I didn't look stupid. I found it'll make sense after I explain more. But I kept coming up with Godzilla stuff.
Oh. now you gotta fill us in.
Yeah.
Because...
Okay. So let's start with my show and tell. So as all of you viewers at home know, my good friend Derek the Rockmaster came and visited for a week, and we went all over the state, did a whole bunch of rock hounding and all that kind of stuff, because he's actually curating a rock fossil and mineral museum wing of his planetarium that he runs in Florida. And Derek is very much his day job is he's an astronomer. Like he runs a planetarium and he does a lot of astrophotography and gets just amazing shots. And I had the pleasure of going night sky watching with an astronomer, and that was like the coolest thing ever, because I do it on my own when I'm out anyway, and it was just awesome having an astronomer there to like actually point stuff out and like getting super excited, because the night sky is so much brighter in the mountains of Montana, but also it's different. Like the stuff you see in Florida is very different than the stuff you'd be seeing in Montana. So first show and tell is actually the best picture that we got on my camera. His setup is like actually made for this kind of stuff. My camera is definitely not, but this is my best shot from all of the night sky watching we did right here.
That's so great.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Right?
This was way up in the mountains and really, really cool. If you zoom in, is it zooming for you guys?
Oh, it's zooming now.
Okay, so if you see this little train of dots, that's actually a satellite right there. If you go up here, though, we've got another satellite, but we actually captured a shooting star in this part right here. Yeah, so I was super, super excited about that. But I actually, one of the things that I wanted to ask about was, if you see all this green right here, Derek was super excited about the fact that we were actually able to see this, because this is what is called air glow. And he was telling me about what air glow is, and I was just absolutely fascinated. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about air glow, because I'm sure you'd be able to describe it far better than I could.
I mean, it's really interesting is that our eyes get so adjusted to the night sky after a while, though. But cameras are specifically designed to just almost absorb as much light as it possibly can.
Right.
So air glow, you would think it's like, oh, it's probably just like a far off city or something or anything like that, but it really isn't necessarily. It's because of our Earth atmosphere. I don't want to say it's an optical illusion. It's an optical phenomenon per se. It causes the night sky to never be completely dark. Essentially, it's an interesting combination of starlight being diffused. Mood lighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Very much mood lighting going on here. It's like just natural night lights going on here. So in that case, though, it's all the gases in our Earth atmosphere that is diffusing the bits of all the bits of starlight that is shining down. And so the different colors is like what angle you're looking at as well. It's really quite pretty to then see that and realize that it's not light pollution.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah, and then it kind of related to the next thing, Derek. This is what I was trying to remember, if I have my terminology correct. I can't remember if I have the name right or not. But one thing he was really excited that he was able to see was, I believe he called it the Giggenbeam. I'm trying to remember. It was some weird word, and when he said it, I was like, "What?" He's like, "So basically, it's this big line in space that you can see from Earth only at certain times of the year, and it's just because the light from the sun is actually passing through gas and ice particles in space, and it like creates this glow straight through the Milky Way." And I was like, "Wait, really? That's awesome!" But I was trying to look stuff up and see if my terminology was right, and all I was coming up was the Godzilla character Gigan. So I was unable to confirm if I was right or not. I'm sure Derek is probably watching this, like, just face palming at how wrong I am. Sorry, Derek.
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, I unfortunately have no idea on that part because I'm not an atmosphere scientist, but that sounds cool. And now I'm gonna try to Google that and see what's all that about, because I've never done astrophotography before, or to understand. I know very minimal optical phenomena of atmospheres, but the different terminologies, I had no idea, but everything is so cool.
It's so cool. Yeah, it was awesome actually getting to watch the night sky with an astronomer, and he was pointing out all these the constellations that only astronomers know. And he was I remember him being particularly blown away by how bright Jupiter is in Montana this time of year.
Absolutely.
But he got some absolutely amazing pictures. I don't think I have any, otherwise I would share them. I think I might have one. I don't know if I do or not. Anyway, but yeah, I'll get permission from Derek and see if I can post them in a future podcast, just because I know Kyle has to edit this tonight.
Right.
And
when Caitlin comes back.
Yeah, it's midnight in Florida now, so I can't message Derek and like acquire permission tonight. So
yeah, I mean it's midnight in Maryland, so hello.
Oh no! All right, we better speed this up.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one right here was my favorite picture. Way up in the mountains, got the pretty reflection. Derek's picture, the Milky Way is actually perfectly reflected in the water.
Wow.
It's one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen.
So pretty.
Okay. So that brings me to physical shows and tells. So this is I think my favorite find from Saturday's video. I saw a little evidence of ammonite in a concretion. So I split it open, and the evidence of ammonite that I found actually ended up only being a partial ammonite, which I was super sad about. So I, out of my curiosity, I removed the ammonite to see if there's anything underneath it, and lo and behold, there was a lot more coolness going on underneath.
Whoa.
So this
Oh
is
my
awesome.
gosh.
This is like one of my favorite concretions I've ever prepped. So we've got big ammonite right here. Well, not big, but this species is hoploscaphites, and this is actually a pretty good sized scaphite. Scaphites don't get very big. This is a partial ammonite. The problem with ammonites is because they're chambered, they break a lot before preservation. So you end up with like pieces of ammonite. You don't really too often find whole ammonites. We've got a partial here. We've got a partial here. We've got a little baby clam, another little mussel right here. There's gastropods throughout the whole thing. But this right here, even though there's an ammonite in that, I think this right here is the thing that is most exciting to me because that is actually a limpet.
You know, I was trying to make out that, and that's actually what I was thinking.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that cool?
That's
That
insane.
is so cool.
I have
That's
found,
the darn best death plate I've seen all day.
I was so excited about it because I have found like modern limpet shells in Florida before, and I mean, okay, so we get a little glimpse of that right there. You see all those shells. This is how all of the concretions in that area of Montana are. I mean, there's just thousands and thousands of shell fossils inside of these concretions, and I have prepped and worked with a lot of concretions like this. So I have probably encountered tens of thousands of these little shells, and I have only seen a total of 2 limpets, and that's the biggest one by far.
Yeah, that's a chunk.
It's
That's
so nice.
nice by like contemporary standards,
Yeah.
let
So I was
alone.
super excited to get a specimen that has so much, and this is like just a prime little specimen of Cretaceous bear paw shale, Montana. Like it's just perfect.
Bravo.
If there was a baculite in there, it would be the perfect bear paw shale specimen.
I
And
just
then,
wouldn't be believing you at that point.
yeah, exactly. And then that brings us to this one, which will be coming up in an upcoming video. Different place. Actually took Derek out there, did some collecting, and I found a wedge of ammonite. You can see the kind of cross section right there. That is just a tiny piece, tiny wedge of ammonite. That thing probably would have come out again this much farther. So we're talking like platter sized ammonite. But I saw it had really, really nicely intact nacre or ammonite. So I polished the whole face of it. And I'm really hoping it shows up well.
It is.
It's so shiny.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got a good polish on this one.
Yes, you did.
Ammonite is like some of my favorite
days.
stuff on the planet. I love this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a
So
chunk,
pretty.
right?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
that
it so
is
much.
good.
And it's hard to think that when this whole ammonite was intact, if you were to polish the whole ammonite, you could have an entire ammonite with color like that. They're so
Wow.
To
amazing.
eat dinner off of.
Yeah, exactly. I love them so much. They make me so
That
happy.
is so
Ammonite
beautiful.
is my favorite gemstone for a reason, because it's a
Yeah.
mixture of like 2 of my favorite things, that being gems and fossils. And it's amazing.
And rainbows.
And rainbows.
Things that are all the colors.
So very rainbow.
Yes.
But
We love
those
it.
are my show and tells.
Well, thank you. Those were spectacular as
Yes.
tradition dictates. So we had a chance to go out to the big range of the Steens, and that's always such an amazing place. The geology is just freaking awesome. because you've got the Yellowstone hotspot had, just cruised by nearby. It's the first of the Columbia River basalts group. It's the reason why there's sunstones in Oregon is the Steens. I mean, this thing is a superstar among mountains. And so up it, you can take a hellacious hike. That's been up there, you can see it in the video as well. And this is one of the thunder eggs from there. And this guy shows the breccia nicely, like, we're talking pressure. And at first, I'm going to admit, I was a little disappointed because a lot of times when I'm doing thunder egg hunting, I'm like, it's going to be like the quintessential star with a bunch of fortifications or maybe some moss and plume, or, Oregon has some pretty spectacular thunder eggs. So I'm thinking that this is a little bit more like a roadmap, or, but the closer I looked, it is like stained glass. And so the rhyolite does some jasper tricks with maroon through some purples, and there's some yellow mineral, probably, iron valence. And there's a lot of cinnabar in the area. So that's probably where we're getting a lot of that color. There's green. So celadonite or celadonite, or however you want to say it, both quartz, but also agate, and then also opalization. So like all is going on in there. And in like this, the closer you look, the more exciting and detailed. It's just one of those things where, you get your loop out and then it's like, oh, that's good under the 10, and oh, the 20. And oh my gosh, I need more magnification. This is great. And so it was a fun little world. And then this other guy that we cut, this one just kind of blew my mind. I'm gonna get this wet really quick. I know that Kyle's gonna throw something up, but for those of you that are watching along in real time, which is you two, I'm doing this for you. Yeah. So this is like a perfect little heart, especially that side, in what I was expecting as far as the quintessential egg that should come from there. It's some different, of course we've got a lot of red in the room right now, so the lighting's not exact, but a lot of maroon and purple on the outside. You have some green, and then the chalcedony or agate in the middle is blue. And that's like, you have my heart already then. Like if you're blue chalcedony, yeah, I love you.
Yep.
And then purple rhyolite, okay, I love you some more. There's some green in there. I mean, it's just like all the good things that the minerals in Oregon have to offer. And so the fact that they happen in one rock, I'm a big sucker for rhyolite anyway. And so the Steens are made out of mostly andesite, I believe, but there's these just big burls of rhyolite that are just spectacular. You can see that, like, so, and then there's a bunch of really straight basalt, over the top. So it's just such contrast. And so this is what I'm doing on the mountain, just totally geeking out. Like, oh my gosh. And it just gets better every time. Somebody had been mentioning, oh, I wish we knew about blah, blah, blah. But that's like, I'm sure, Caitlin, you find this out every time there's like this new discovery. There's a new understanding of the same thing that you loved from before, but now it's even better. And it just gets enhanced like over and over again.
Or it just gets weirder and we're like, huh, that's weird. Why didn't we pick up on that before?
Yeah. Or yeah, the fantastic mysteries that keep you having to come back. Okay. Like I did not notice that before. And what the heck was that? Yeah. So you know it. And then the very lastliest thing is I had to work on a carving for a sunstone because they're so pretty. And Mortimer can definitely back me up on, like, sunstones, there's something about their inner glow. Like you talk about it raining diamonds. I mean, They are
Yeah.
just, they can be so diamondy.
Yeah, they really can.
I was attempting, because I'm going through the different trips and I'm going through the different rocks as I'm unpacking, doing the videos. I haven't had a chance to look at them. I haven't even gone through all the Hampton Butte yet. You know, this was like, okay, first the Steens, and now or actually those Sunstones were first. And so I'm putting away that stuff, trying to get my Steen stuff going, and I can't put them away. I'm having such a, like, I'm going through them again, and you know, like, oh, look at this one, and I like taking way too much time. So I'm like, okay, fine, put them all away except for one. You can have one. You're allowed one. And so this one has some, if Kyle puts up the video, it's got some schiller. And so as you're moving it around, you'll see these, like, they're striations of the schiller. You can really see how they're platelets that are all lined up that stack into being able to catch this light. And that is just so cool. This one wasn't deep enough to facet, so I allowed myself, okay, if you're good, you get to polish or, you know, carve this as you're getting all of your other work done. And this is how come Mortimer and I don't sleep.
Yep, it's true. Absolutely, like 100%.
Yeah, guess what? This is not finished yet. There's still I'm only on the Pink Nova. So those of you who do carving and that sort of thing understand where I'm at, you know. So I've got some, I'm not even into the polish yet. That's so much fun. It gets so pretty. So that's my shows and tells. Actually, so those thunder eggs are in the video that's out right now, so you can go check that out in the hike, and it's flipping beautiful. And then the Sunstone will actually star in its own short. So you're gonna see from rough all the way through to finished piece on that short, and that should be coming out soon, because I'm probably going to be up all night. And that's my story.
Me too.
Yeah. Playing with stones and editing video, which is always
editing for
jam.
me.
Yeah.
So
that wraps up the shows and tells. Thank you guys, like always, for the eye candy. That was fantastic. Do we have some wisdom? Do you have some words of wisdom, Caitlin?
Oh goodness. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom this time would be Pluto's a planet. And no, but in all
Thank
honesty,
you.
though, it's yes. No, it's just, you know, just keep supporting NASA, and just keep being fascinated there, and keep being fascinated by space too. You know, we have, like I said, the Artemis launch coming up is exciting. If you are a fan of the moon, we also have a lunar eclipse coming up on November 8th. So that is already next Tuesday.
Wow.
So go see a lunar eclipse then. Those are always a lot of fun to watch, and the moon gets really pretty colors. There's my wisdom there. Pretty much.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for the reminder on the events that are coming up. That's awesome. Thank you. And how about you, Mortimer?
It's actually funny that you brought it up, kind of, because us always never getting any sleep, because we always have like 19,000 things going on, and then in the middle of all of our things that we should be doing, we're like, I got time. I should probably cut this rock first. Before it's not on the plate at all, but
yeah, there's always not a tangent.
Yeah. So
tangent.
My words of wisdom this week are actually, and I swear this wasn't planned, embrace the detours. And I say that because this last like week or two, it's just been like, okay, so for example, the hunt that I went out on Tuesday, just supposed to be like a quick little jaunt, and I ended up walking way farther than I had originally planned, because I was thinking, okay, if I get further away, less people will have come to where I am going. So I just kept going and going. My 1 hour estimate passed like 4 hours ago, and I'm still just finding agate after agate, and I'm like, okay, this detour was rewarded. Just like this was not on my docket at all. I just saw a wedge of ammonite laying on my bench, and I'm like, I should probably polish that. I know I have 3,000 things I should be doing, but I'm going to polish this before I forget. And it was worth it. Look how pretty that is. So yes, my words of wisdom this week are embrace the detour.
Nice. I love it. While I was putting my microphone plug back in. Thank you for that. That was perfect time. Go longer.
Sorry.
I love embracing the detour. Thank you. I think that we should all be more like Pluto, right?
Yes.
That was Caitlin's last time or the time before that, not sure.
Yes.
Or we could all be like Planet X and just be that resonating thing that has an effect on all the things around you, hopefully in a positive way.
That sounds better. I was going to say nebulous and mysterious.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too.
Which is usually how people find me. And probably
I'm theoretical. Yay.
Right.
Yeah. Completely theoretical. Am I really
Yes. Am I really
in the box
here?
or out of the box?
Yeah. Are you really chatting with me?
Right.
Be more like Planet X. And by that, I mean entirely hypothetical.
Yes.
Joke's on you. I already do that.
So, boy, with all of that wisdom, you can't go wrong. And thank you for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. A last thing, Caitlin, if folks are wishing to follow you, is there anywhere that they can find you?
Yes, I'm mostly on Twitter at Ahrens Science. And that's pretty much as much social media as I can have with bandwidth nowadays.
One-stop shopping.
Yep, pretty much. But can't wait to come back though.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and staying up late with us and being in the passionate ether that you're in after all of the hard work that you've done. Thank you so much for that. And thank you guys for watching. As I said before, definitely share your precious outer space minerals, anything that you'd like to with our show and tell that will be coming up soon. Hit us at the email. It's in the description. If you'd also like to play with us all week long, go ahead and join the Discord, and you can ask questions of our future guests, just like folks were able to be asking Caitlin what she was up to. Way up there. So that we'll bid you adieu until the next time. Stay safe out there. Happy hunting for rocks, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Bye.